episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Alita Battle Angel. The latest Game of Thrones Pics reveal new Season 8 details. After what seems like a decade of waiting, the final season of Game of Thrones is 2 months away. And as the spring premiere approaches, new promos have been coming in at a slow trickle, with only a few teasers and brief clips here and there within HBO's other marketing. And while we've all been waiting to finally get a good look at the new season, the scoop masters over at Entertainment Weekly got their hands on a bunch of official Game of Thrones Season 8 images, which gives us a bunch of clues as to what may be in store for the final season. First things first, the images seem to have a clear theme, the distinction between Winterfell and King's Landing. Last we saw, the army of the dead breached the wall that protected the Seven Kingdoms and poured into the north, where we find most of the characters featured in these photos. So let's start off with the Kingslayer, Jaime Lannister, who we last saw ditching his armor and leaving his power-drunk sister behind in King's Landing. This new armor is noticeably less ornate than Jaime's previous, but also looks a lot warmer for the northern climate. Plus, check out that beard Jaime's grown. Obviously, some time has passed since he's left Cersei's side. Now, it's worth noting that his new armor here bears a very close resemblance to Robb Stark's armor. If it is, it's kinda morbid, but with the army of the dead around the corner, desperate times may call for even more desperate measures. And speaking of Stark siblings, check out Arya's shot. In a solo portrait, Arya is wearing both her prized possessions, the Valyrian steel catspaw dagger she used to execute Peter Baelish, and her trusty sword needle gifted to her by Big Bro Jon Snow way back in Season 1, which was the last time that they saw each other. Will we finally get that reunion? We hope so. As for the other Stark sister, Sansa, Our Lady of Winterfell, is looking comfortable with her own power. She's seated in what is very likely the Great Hall of Winterfell. Subtle detail here, notice that the armrest next to hers looks like it's part of a bigger, beefier chair. Well, we've previously seen Sansa take the smaller chair next to her brother Jon, and even though she's still the Lady of Winterfell, Jon and Dany outrank her as a king and queen, so we're thinking one of them has taken that larger seat. Next, let's take a look at Brienne. She's got a very warm-looking cloak draped over her armor, but take a look over her shoulders. She's standing in front of a couple of Daenerys' unsullied soldiers, who we also see behind Ser Davos, the Onion Knight. This confirms what we've all known, that Dany and crew are ready to take the fight to the army of the dead. And we've also got a new shot of Varys, who appears to be rocking some new threads. And as for everyone's favorite three-eyed raven Bran, it looks like he's still warming himself up by that fire since last season. If you'll remember, he just missed meeting up with Jon at Winterfell last season, and now he's waiting for his brother and Dany to inevitably arrive. We've also got a new look at Samwell Tarly. Sam is looking sleek and snug in leather. It looks like he's back in Winterfell after ditching out on his maester apprenticeship and by extension the Night's Watch. And we all know what happens to those on the wall that ditch their post. Just kidding, they would never kill him. He's a hero. Now, if you remember, Bran had met up again with Sam and the two compared notes on Jon's status as the true heir to the Iron Throne and how Dany is actually Jon's aunt. So that's gonna be an awkward conversation when Sam and Jon finally meet up. And speaking of the aunt-nephew duo, here are the two young lovers finally up in the north. If you pull out a magnifying glass, you can see that Dany's white coat has been infused with streaks of crimson or burgundy, which seems to play heavily into the whole A Song of Ice and Fire theme. Of course, not every major player in Westeros is up in Winterfell. Cersei seems to be alone in her two picks. She's still sitting on the Iron Throne with no one but her dope shoulder pads to keep her company. Seriously, those are awesome. It's worth noting that she is pretty much on her own at this point after turning her back on the alliance with Dany, but people have bet against her before and she's always come out on top. So what do all of these photos tell us? As we said, the North and the South seem to be the main focal points of the season. We've heard from series creators Benioff and Weiss that some of the upcoming battles this season will make the Battle of the Bastards look like child's play, with one of the battles taking a whopping 55 days to shoot. Ultimately, what these pics tell us is that we're likely to get a new trailer soon. Very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled. But what do you folks think? Who do you think will die first and last? Where is Melisandre in all of this? And if you had to put the over-under on who will ultimately come out on top, would you bet on Cersei? Let's discuss. Thanks again to Alita Battle Angel for sponsoring today's episode. From the visionary minds of James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez, Alita Battle Angel brings us an action-packed story of hope and empowerment. After waking up with no memory and in a future she doesn't recognize, Alita must navigate her new life in the treacherous streets of Iron City, but it's only when she finds herself in extreme danger that Alita discovers she's got some unique fighting abilities. Alita Battle Angel arrives in theaters February 14th.